All right. We may have some others keep joining in, but we're going to go ahead and get started. So, Justin would like some help around schedules, calendars, sticking to them, and we had lots of heads nodding. And then I do also want to talk about Saturday. So, how many that are currently here were at our event on Saturday? Raise your hand. Awesome. So I want to hear from you guys before we break it down. But what I will tell you first is we had a total of 40 participants, and that's amazing. We will do this again next quarter, and I hope even more come because the feedback that I'm getting far and away was fantastic. And people were saying, wow, this actually works. It's amazing when we actually do our jobs that it works. So I want to hear from those of you, and please share with those who weren't here what your takeaways were from Saturday. Did some of the things we did make you uncomfortable, and did you do them anyway? And how did you feel about that? So let's have some shares. Who wants to
Wow.
start? Amanda, you
I'll,
want to
I'll,
start us off?
sure, I'll go first. Um, Nothing we did made me uncomfortable. Everything was within my comfort zone. To me, the greatest help was when I reach out to my sphere, what exactly do I say? So I was very happy to get that information, that text, and I modified it. Daisy suggested making it a little bit more personal with a few emojis, or just a variation here and there. And I got a lot of responses. Um, I had a buyer consultation this week because I reached out to somebody. So just to kind of move along the process. We're not. She's not there to buy yet, but the whole point is eventually it will happen. We just need to make sure that we're in touch. um, and so that was a massive help. So people responded, and just as the goal was to make sure that I'm on top of mind of my sphere when either they or their sphere needs a real estate agent. I will be the one that they will refer to. So that was amazing, and yeah, that's basically what I wanted to share. So thank you so much. I had a great time.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing, Amanda. Anyone else who was there like to share?
I'll share, like I always do. No, it really, just getting going and actually doing something. I mean, I'm that type to that needs a little shove, and the scheduling issue that we're talking about is a big thing. But I mean, the 10 texts, it's like I've sent out a text here and there, but just sending those out and then seeing the quick response back. I mean, like I got 6 responses back like within that half hour, and that set up follow-up calls the next day.
Mhm.
In fact, actually, I followed up on 3 of them that day, you know, and didn't get any referrals, but locked them in as soldiers and then put them on 2 campaigns to keep them locked in, so it got me productive right away. And then the calls with the basic scripts, and just it reminded me that I was told a while back that my conversations need to have a purpose, and that was a big aha to me. But then I got really mad because I should have been doing all of this without somebody kicking me in the butt and getting me to do it, so but it was very productive and very enlightening.
Good. Thank you for sharing. Janet?
Yes, actually, for me, it was easier than I think. I have a lot of responses. All the people that I call, they respond with a very positive feedback. And I have no issue contacting my sphere of influence at all. Is the issues that I need to build that more, especially in this area. And and I have no issue getting the missing information that I have from other people as well. So for me, it was a very positive experience.
Awesome. I appreciate you sharing that. Anyone else?
I'll share.
Okay.
So West Ventura County is my area for those that don't know. And I thought it was extremely challenging because it's much easier to not reach out than to reach out. And just to put in that platform and to really participate and not just say you're doing something. I just think that it was very rewarding. I think the conversations were well received from the people on the other end. Um, I think that I was challenged most by calling 5 people in the 15 minutes and asked for a referral on a Saturday. And it was interesting, the responses like, hey, the next door neighbor, they're at a basketball game. And it was like the context was so out of place to be asking for business. But they're just they were people that I knew I could call, and so that were around me that no, I do real estate, but I don't push them at all. Um, and so it was just kind of funny just seeing the responses on that and where people were in those moments. But I would say the prizes, I think, looking at a group of people that are in coaching and then a bunch of people that were there were non-coaching people, the prizes seem to be the big motivator. Once people saw prizes, like, oh yeah, oh yeah, I got a referral, I got an appointment, I'm studying this stuff, and I just started laughing. And being in coaching, knowing that okay, these are things we should be doing anyway every single day. Um, I was gone for the month of January, so it was easy to like not get back into the routine again. Um, but yeah, just jumping back in and doing it, I think it was super rewarding. I think that, I've gotten feedback from every single person I've reached out to, all very positive. No one has been like, oh my gosh, don't contact me, not interested. If anything, people have said, the market's just really slow right now. Interest rates are high, is the mindset. And if they know of anyone, they'll let me know. But I think it was a good kickstart to get me back into the groove after being gone for a month to get back on board and say, okay, let's play, let's do this again because it does work. So I think it was very, very rewarding. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And I think that, was there anybody else before I say anything? Okay. I think that's been the feedback we've been getting from most people. And so just real quickly, I want to share with you guys where you can find exactly what we used. Because so this is our PC toolkit in the conversation helper folder. I did put those in here. So we used 3 different ones. We started off in the morning by texting people. And so I encourage all of you, start your day off by sending out 10 texts to 10 different people, right? And right now, this is an appropriate text. This may seem out of the blue, and I need your help. We're working with several buyers, and as you may know, our listing inventory is very low. I'm reaching out to, oops, there's a typo, to everyone I know to ask if they can think of anyone, neighbor, friend, family member, coworker who's talked about selling their home. Do you happen to know of anyone by chance? And of course, you can adjust wording a little bit to make it sound like you. Don't take away the meaning, though, and don't be afraid to ask the question. But we started off with this because that gave the rest of the day for people to be responding. And it was 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning, right? Or 9:15, 9:20 by the time we actually started doing it. We weren't calling anyone very early on a Saturday morning. And so this went really, really well. So I encourage all of you, go in here, do this every single day. Text 10 people that you know, because we are low on inventory and we do have lots of buyers out there. And we're not bugging the people that we're texting, we're asking them for their help. Then the other thing that we did was we just straight up asked for referrals, right? I'm calling to ask for your help. And this was a phone call that we made. We're working with several buyers, and as you may know, our inventory is very low. Basically the same thing, right? And then asking if they have a referral, if they'd mind sharing the information. If not, thanking them for taking the time, and can I count on you to refer anyone if you hear of someone in the future, right? This ideally should be 10 different people, right? We're not calling the people we just text. And then the last thing that we did was we asked people for missing information. So we just called and said, how are you? Right? I just called real quick. So this let them know we're not going to be hanging on the phone, right? I'm going through my contact information of my whichever applies and realize I don't have your whichever missing piece, right? Would you please share that with me? Thank you. Before I go, right? This works great. And it's non-invasive, right? And it's just simply asking people for help. So please go into the toolkit, pull those out, print them, save them, whatever. Start your day off with those 10 texts every day. And guys, don't type them out each time. Cut and paste. No, I mean, you can literally have 10 texts out in less than 10 minutes if you cut and paste. Now, be careful. Don't cut, like if you say, hi, Jeff, don't cut and paste the name, right? To the next person. I've actually accidentally done that before. So in sending a message, and then had to follow up, oops, sorry, wrong name. And then, if you know of something specific, you may say, how is whatever before you get into the meat of the text so that you can personalize it a little bit. But do that every day. Just send out 10 texts to 10 different people. At the end of the week, you're going to have contacted 50 people.
Jodi, I wanted to mention also with the adding to the database. And one thing that I don't know why it seems so obvious, but I hadn't done. So we're all taught to upload all your contacts from your phone into your database. But going on Facebook, and I've never done this. I don't even know why, but looking through all the friends on Facebook and adding them to my database, even though there's missing information, but a great way to reach out to so many more people. So that was another like, why haven't I done this? So
Yeah.
anyway, I did that as well on adding some people.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
So you know what I can add to that too is I've started to look at the people, like a friend that posted something and then looking at the comments and seeing who commented on it. And those are like, oh wait, I know that guy, that guy, that guy, that guy that I didn't even, forgot about, and then added them. And then I've even found out that they were in another contact, but these are people that I graduated from, with, and I mean, there's even still a lot of people on Facebook that I'm conversing with that I graduated with, but haven't talked to them. And it's like, come on, call them up. Like I just called one right now on Facebook, just said it'd be nice to see you. And then it said, well, shoot, and called them on Insta, the messenger, and had a conversation. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways.
And that was, by the way, the second thing that we did. We did our 10-10-5. Again, it's still fairly early on a Saturday morning. So if anyone felt uncomfortable making calls out early, we intentionally started off with 10 texts, and then we went into the 10-10-5. And then from there, we had you guys look at Facebook to see if you could add 5 or 10 contacts. And we gave you a few minutes to do that of people you didn't have in your database. So those of you that haven't done that, I encourage you to do that, because I guarantee you, if you do that this week, you'll add at least 10 people, if not more, to your database just by looking through your friends on Facebook. And Ernie's suggestion, who's commenting on their stuff that that you might not even be friends with on Facebook.
Yeah.
Right. And then that text script that we sent out, you can use that same thing to private message them as your 5 on social media, right? Does everybody know what the 10-10-5 is when I say that?
Yeah, I do.
No? Okay.
Yes, I do.
I see one no. So the 10-10-5 is 10 likes or whatever emoji that pops up that you want to hit, right? So 10 likes, 10 comments, and it doesn't have to be a book. It could be great, nice, love it. It could be anything, right? And 10 either sharing of someone's post or sending them a private message through social media. That's a great way to contact people whose phone number you don't have. Send out that missing information script on social media, or actually call them, right? A 10-10-5 though, ideally should be 25 different people at the end of the time, if at all possible. And it should also be purposeful, right? Focused on your SOI and not going down the bunny trail of the cat videos and everything else that pops up, right? This is purposeful time. So when you guys start your lead gen time in the morning or whatever time you have to do it, literally take 30 minutes, send 10 texts, and do your 10-10-5. That's done first thing in the morning. You can do that early. Nobody's going to be bothered by that. And then you get on with your day and you have all day for those people to respond. Any other thoughts or ahas on any of that before we move on?
Is there any other option if I don't have this option? So just to circumvent this and still have the same results. The reason I'm asking is because my friends, my sphere of influence, everybody on my Facebook is on a different continent. So I don't have much American friends or many American friends. So this doesn't apply to me. And also because I have a very limited sphere of influence, I can't really send the text every day because I feel like I'm annoying my sphere of influence because I do reach out to them quite often and I am on top of mind when it comes to real estate. So I need to work on growing my sphere of influence. Is there any way to circumvent the Facebook part?
So I think circumvent might be too strong of a word for a couple of reasons. Let me explain. Okay, so first of all, don't discount anyone you have on another continent, particularly if there's a Keller Williams there, which because we're in 50 different countries, right? And if people need to buy or sell homes there, you can still refer them to people. So you can find an agent who you know will take good care of them and refer your friends and family and SOI in another country to a Keller Williams agent or any agent, really. So don't discount that. And yet I realize that's not going to be your main source for lead generation, right? Just don't forget about that because oftentimes we feel like those of you that have a sphere that's largely not in your local area, we kind of forget there's other ways that we can help them, right? Because if we're the ones finding a qualified agent to help them and not leaving it up to chance for them to find someone, then you're still doing them a service, right? So the other thing is figure out how to grow your SOI database and your social media database, right? So when you meet somebody, look for them on social media, on Facebook, on Insta, or whatever you're using, right? And then follow them or ask to follow them or friend them, depending on which one you're using, right? And then pay attention. The friends that you do have here locally, look through their friends lists and see who do you actually know. Because chances are you'll know more people than you realize you do when you look through other people's friends lists. And then if it's somebody you know that knows who you are, even if it's not well, right? Ask to be their friend on Facebook. So there's ways to grow that. And then outside of that, of course, you want to not ever know a stranger. I know we were all taught stranger danger as kids, right? But when we're out and about, when we're at the grocery store, when we're shopping, when we're playing golf, when whatever it is that we're doing, we want to never know a stranger. Always be letting people know you're in real estate, especially if you're going to places on a regular basis and you're getting to know, like the checker at the grocery store is always the one whose line you get in, right? You don't have to talk about real estate every time, but develop that relationship by building rapport every time you go in, and eventually that comes up. Find them on Facebook, right? So there's ways to do that. Open houses, networking groups. Find a group on Facebook that is based around something you also enjoy, right? Get to know the people in that group and find a local group on Facebook. So there's lots and lots and lots of ways that we can build our SOI if we don't have a local SOI. The key is to quit telling ourselves, oh, I don't have an SOI here, right? Because you may not have a big one, but I guarantee you know somebody, right? And you can build on that. So not telling ourselves that we don't have one is the first step in being able to freely build that. Does that make sense? Because
Yes.
our thinking is a lot. Our thinking is a lot of what either holds us back or helps us go forward. Janet?
Yes. You know, for me, I have a similar issue as she does, but what I thought was, let me think of a strategy. I decided to join a group where we're going to run a marathon. So that's a new group of people that are just going to me. They get to know me and I get their information. So that's the way that I can grow bigger SOI or database.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And over time, think about it this way. For those of you that truly have a minimal SOI here, there's ways you can add to it fairly quickly, the things we've been talking about. But beyond that, think about a goal of meeting one new person a day, 5 new people a week. When we break it down a little more simply like that, if you are consistent with that, at the end of 1 year, you will add 250 people to your database. So don't get overwhelmed in the, oh my gosh, I got to add 200 people to my database by next week, right? Yes, we want you to build your databases as quickly as possible because it's proven statistically, if you have over 200 and better 500, you're going to have good business. And yet don't let that hold you back from, wow, that's an awful lot when I don't really know anybody. Okay. Those of you that haven't been talking a little bit yet, or that have grown good databases, what are some ways that you have met new people and added to your database that you could help the others out with?
I can share about
Okay.
that. One of the things I've done, I think I've been like this my whole life, is I just talk to everybody. So if I go to Starbucks, I look behind me, and pretty soon I'm talking to the person behind me, the person in front of me, and the person, taking care of the order. So now there's 3 people there. And I find my way, one way or another, for them to know my name, I know their name pretty soon. I think it has a lot to do with like not caring what, like you said it just a few minutes ago, that a lot of the things we do is because we tell ourselves that we can't. So I've just always told myself that I can talk to everybody, whether they're old or young or, and that's how not that I've done a lot with my database, I think, but that's how I have grown my database. Now I just have to use my database.
Yeah, it doesn't do us much good if we've got.
So in one day,
Go ahead.
In one day, I can easily meet. In one day, I can meet 20 new people without even planning it. 3 at Starbucks. I don't know. I go to the supermarket. Another 2 there. There's 5. I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on. Every stop, if I'm walking, because I walk every day. If I'm walking, the guy I bumped into or the lady I bumped into, it doesn't even matter. And everybody's so private that I kind of just like force my way in there to like not even care whether they like it or not. And it works. It just works. If you become the person that breaks that obstacle so that people aren't so private.
Yeah. And sometimes people are private because they just don't know how to, or seem private because they don't know how to start a conversation. Just be careful that you're not interrupting other people's conversations to do that, right? We do want to be respectful. But to Justin's point too, we can have a large database, but if we're not using it, if we're not continuing to grow it, if we're not working it, if we're not making our notes, using smart plans, all those things, what good is it, right? So we have to make sure that we're doing the whole picture. And I like that when you said Starbucks and talking to the person in front of you and behind you and then the barista, right? If you think about it, has anybody ever zoomed through a Starbucks line? Those lines take a while. So there's a little bit of time if there's a line to talk to people. That's a good place just to intentionally go. Grab a water if you don't want to pay $6 for a coffee. Love it. Anyone else have ideas how they've been growing their sphere? That's something we haven't already talked about today.
I had 3 real estate conversations this morning walking my dog.
Nice.
Literally. I'm not blown. I mean, literally. Like, and one guy's actually I'm following up with him this afternoon because he needs some 1031 tax exchange information. So I'm trying to get the specialist at the office hooked up with him already. So it's just, yeah, like, what Justin said, man, it's just opening your mouth and saying hi, and asking them, and right away. It just seems funky, like, oh gosh, I'm that forceful guy, but it's like one guy at the park says, yeah, I just moved here, and then he asked me a couple of things about the area. And it's like, well, did you just move here? Are you renting or did you buy? Oh, my girlfriend and I are renting. Oh, okay. In case you need anything, let you know I'm a local real estate here. I know the area really well. My office is right down the street. I'm Ernie Jackson. What's your name? And added him to my cell phone. So it's just having those suggests. I mean, literally just saying hi. I'm at the gas pump and the guy across from me. If there's a reason for me to say hi to him and start a conversation, I'm there. You know.
The more people you know,
Mhm.
it's just about knowing people, not being afraid to talk to them, and getting into those relationships.
Your doctor. I mean, he's providing a service to you. Tell him that you're a real estate agent and ask him who he knows who's going to buy or sell a house real soon at
Yeah,
the office.
I've
You know?
actually helped one of my doctors before.
Hmm.
Don't be afraid to ask for people. Remember, a couple weeks ago, I think we talked about our preferred vendors, right? They expect us to give them business all the time. Why don't we expect them to give us business? Now, that being said, and we mentioned this before, we may give them, say your lender, say you give them 10 loans, right? Well, you can't expect 10 referrals from them because they have lots of agents they work with. But can you expect one? Yeah, they should either be giving you referrals or actively doing something to help you get business.
Hey Jody, the Van Wickler guy from is it Maine, the state of Maine, that young guy that's done really well. Is it Van Wickler?
Uh, maybe. I know who you're talking about. I don't remember.
Isn't it
So,
Canada? I think he's in Canada. But yeah,
yeah, so this guy with Keller Williams, he's done really, really well. And one of the things that he's done that kind of comes into what we're talking about right now is he talks about exchanging services.
Mhm.
Like even the person taking photographs for the listings, like they don't charge him any because he does something for them and vice versa. And I was just thinking about how when you just mentioned, even like with your doctor, like you go to the doctor, but what is he or she providing for you? Like we don't really think about those things, but it's true. They're people just like us. We should be exchanging services, right?
Yeah, and at the very least, letting them know that you're in real estate. And because if you never say it, if you're a secret agent, you're never going to get found,
Hmm.
right? This isn't a game of hide and seek. You got to get out there and let people find you and talk to people. You have to be proactive, right? And that's the beauty of prospecting because it is proactive and it doesn't cost you anything. And so you're going to get better results from that.
Waiters, waitresses, bartenders. I mean, it's like you have 3 or 4 conversations with them at the table when they take your order, and just make friends. They give you your name, and then you talk to them and say, just small little conversations. And if they interact with you, then you say, hey, here's I'm a real estate agent. If you ever need my service or whatever, ask them where they live.
So, one thing to caution about though, and I see a lot of agents do this, and it's a little bit of a pet peeve of mine, those of you that have heard me say this before, a lot of agents just give out a bunch of cards.
Hmm.
I have agents that come to me, and if this has been you, please know I'm not picking on anybody, okay? And when people do this, they don't know what they don't know, okay? In all fairness. But one of my biggest pet peeves is when especially new agents come in and they get business cards done and then they just go put a stack at different businesses, or they go to the restaurant and they leave a card on the table with their tip, or they, just hand out a bunch of cards everywhere. And they're so proud of themselves that they did this. Now, while I applaud the effort, and I think that's phenomenal, it's not good enough. Because what do we do with business cards when we get them?
Either file them or throw them away.
They go right into the trash. And if they don't, they go into a wallet or a purse or a drawer for 6 months until we clean those things out, and then they go into the trash, right? So never just give out business cards. Exchange information. If you hand somebody a card, you ask them for a card. If they don't have a card, this is why the backs of your business card should be blank and should be white. Hand them another one of yours and say, great, you can write your information here. Or pull out your phone and put them in your phone. So don't just hand out a bunch of cards. They're not going to get you business. Okay. Yes, I know there's a random one in a bazillion that's going to get business from a card. Oh my gosh, I sold a house from a business card. Okay, goody, goody. That's not what's going to build your business though. Okay. So I'm not knocking the part about giving them. I am knocking the part about not expecting a return, exchanging information. Okay, that's how you're going to build relationships. So be really careful with that, because otherwise, why bother to spend money on cards? And did you all know that your Command app can serve as a digital business card?
Mhm.
You can go into Command and go into I think it's the More, and pull up your scan code, your QR code, and they can scan it from their phone and your information will go right to them. But then you should be collecting their information as well. Okay. All right, really great conversation. And I do want us to have time to talk about the what Justin brought up at the beginning, and we had some nods in agreement for that. But before we do, any last thoughts or comments on this? All righty. I have one more question. How's everybody doing with adding to their database? Who has at least 200 in their database? In Command. Or whatever, or Jeff, I know you're not I know you're using a different one for your team. So when I say in Command, Jeff, if the question applies to that as well. So feel free to raise your hand if you've got that. Please no, I understand that. Okay. So show again, at least 200. Okay, about half of you. If you don't have 200, that needs to be your first goal. Okay, that really needs to be your first goal. And then we need to strive for more. But let's get to 200 first. And then we'll figure out how to get more, because we really want to get you to at least 500. And I promise you, you know a lot more people than you think you do. And I guarantee you, everyone you know isn't in your database. So go into the PC toolkit, into the success tools. There's 3 different memory jogger things in there. If you go through those, you will find people to add to your database. All righty. So let's switch gears. So Justin, you had mentioned earlier about help with sticking to your schedule. And if I remember correctly, you said something to the effect of you might have it in your calendar, but then things come up and then it throws you off. And then how do you get back on track? Is that the gist of? Okay. Anyone else having issues with that? It's a common problem if we're honest with ourselves, right? So let me ask you, what is the one thing that you find the most difficult to stick to in your calendar?
Phone calls.
For me, it's lead gen.
Yeah,
Okay.
my phone calls.
So would it be fair to say that those of you who did raise your hand, or even, and if you're answering silently in your head, that the hardest time block that you make to stick to is that of any form of lead generation?
Yes.
Mhm.
Why do you think that is?
Fear.
Yeah. It's not that you can't do it, right? But remember the experiences that we heard about Saturday. We had 40 people in 7 different rooms that were together and needed to do it, right? Because otherwise they were going to feel left out or like, oh, why did I even bother to come if I'm not going to do this, right? They didn't want to be the one not doing it. So everybody did it and everybody had results. So the key is we shouldn't have to put you in a scheduled place and make you, pitch you against each other. Not that that's what we did, but to feel like you have to do this, right? This should be something that you need to do every day. This is your job, guys. If you were punching a time clock, be honest, if you were punching a time clock and based on your lead generation activity and your commitment to your lead generation, how many of you would be written up if not fired? Yeah. So why are you in this business if you're not going to do the things that need to be done to keep you in this business? Right? So nobody said it was easy. There's a bold law that says success is simple, not easy. It's simple. We all know what we need to do. There isn't anybody here that doesn't know what we need to do, right? So what can you do? And let's open this up. Let's have some ideas. How can you hold yourself accountable? Because there's a difference between you got a call from your child's school and they just got hurt and you have to go help them, right? And we don't want that to happen. I'm using that for an example. Versus, you got a text from your friend who's asking if you want to go grab a drink after work. Right? And we're all letting those little things, most of us are letting those little things get in the way, right? The big things are going to happen. Life happens. If you erase, you must replace. And then going back to tracking that we talked about last week, right? If you track, you'll find that you think you're doing more than you are. So what are some things that you guys have done when you've had successful days in staying in your time block that's helped you do that?
In my case, when I know who I'm going to call
So
ahead of time.
Being prepared is big. Thank you, Rafina. How many of you go into lead gen not knowing what you're going to do that day? It's probably pretty common, right? So the night before or the first thing in the morning, take 20 or 30 minutes to prepare who you're going to reach out to. What are you going to say? Because that's half the battle. If you're using DTD4 or you're using your tasks in command to a high level, all you have to do is look at the DTD4 sheet or open your command task and it'll tell you what to do. But if you're writing your notes on sticky notes and notebooks and never putting them in command and never setting tasks, you're not going to remember who to follow up with. Right? So being prepared is probably one of the number one things to help you stay in that time block. But what else? What would you say? So Justin, since you brought the subject up, I'm going to ask you, and then I want to hear from others. What would you say is your biggest distraction that you have a hard time with? Mine's a barking dog.
Based on the book, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, that I listen to every day, I came to the conclusion that for years now, I've been living in the little things that will only take 5-10 minutes, maybe an hour, but somehow it takes all day, every day for 1 day, 2 days, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year. And then 5 years later, you're like, oh shit, these things take time. Like, and the book says, you have to let them go. You have to let them go. But I haven't been able to. And I think it's because of fear. Because if I know I have to do lead gen and that's more important, why am I doing the little thing?
So because lead gen is more important and we need to get it done, does that mean we have to spend all day doing it and the things that aren't as important we're not going to ever do? No. It just means that during the time we've set aside, and it should be a minimum of 2, if not 3 hours. If you don't have business, it should be at least 3, right? And it should really be the bulk of your day if you don't have anything in your pipeline, because you've got to build that pipeline. You don't have other things to do if you don't have a pipeline yet, right? You don't need to worry about all of the extra projects around anything. You don't need a listing presentation. You don't need anything if you don't have a seller, right? Because I promise you, once you get that appointment, you'll make sure a listing presentation gets figured out, right? So focus on getting the business. You should all have 2 to 3 hours a day if you're doing this full time for lead generation. And it should be in the morning because that's when it gets done. Here's the thing, when it doesn't get done in the morning, that's where the day gets in the way. Gary Keller's big on saying master the morning. If you get the important stuff done first thing, it doesn't matter what happens the rest of the day. You're going to figure it all out. The rest of the stuff will get done, and the stuff that doesn't get done probably wasn't that important. So think about the things that you need to do in your day, whether they're personal or business. And are they important? Are they urgent? Are they not important? Are they important but not urgent? Are they urgent but not important? Now that sounds like it doesn't make sense, right? And yet, so let's take the easy one. How would you categorize if we have important, not important, urgent, not urgent? Okay. Or we can put any combo of those two together. Important, not urgent, important and urgent, not important, not urgent, not important, but urgent. Okay. Where does lead generation fall in?
Important, urgent.
Absolutely. That's the easy one, right? Okay. Where does going to group coaching next Monday fall in? Or actually not next Monday. It's the holiday and everybody's closed. The following Monday. Where does going to your group coaching a week from Monday fall in?
It's important, but it's not urgent.
Exactly. Now, you have until 2:00 to pick up your dry cleaning because they're going to close for a long weekend. What is that?
Urgent but not important.
Exactly. So that's an example of how something can be urgent because you're stuck with a time deadline. May not be the most important thing on your list, but it's urgent that it's done before 2:00, right?
Unless it's a tuxedo for your daughter's wedding.
Then it's urgent and important.
Yeah.
But you get the picture. Chances are, unless it's something like that, if you didn't get your dry cleaning picked up, you probably have something in your closet you could wear, right? So, do you guys get the picture? So think about all the things in your day that you need to do in your day. And where are they on that scale? And then that's the order you need to do them in. Right? We put in our calendar, if we're the ones picking our child up from school, thank goodness I don't have to do that anymore. But if we're the ones picking our child up from school, we're there, right? Anyone ever forgot their child? I think everybody's done it once. Amanda thinks we're crazy. Trust me, most people have done it once. How old are your kids? You'll do it. You'll forget.
5 and 7.
Oh yeah, you got time. No, what'll happen is they'll get older, there will be miscommunication. You'll think you don't have to pick them up and you really did. There will be things that happen. Anyway, you're gonna pick your kid up from school because that's important, right? Everybody's going to make sure that happens. And if something comes up and you can't, you're going to make sure someone else you trust does it because that's important, right? So think about the things that should be as important. Do you want to provide a living for those same children? Right now, I know maybe raising children doesn't apply to everything, but you get the picture. What are your goals, right? Do you want to take your family on a vacation? Do you want to have a certain amount in your retirement? What do you want that to look like? Do you have aging parents that you want to be able to take care of? Do you have kids you want to put through college or grandkids that you want to do things with? Right? So it doesn't matter what it is. It all starts with any of those things you want to do, you can't do unless you lead generate. Because you're not going to make any money if you don't lead generate. So remember, for everything that you say yes to, what are you saying no to?
Lead gen.
So something that has helped some, Justin, you have kids, right? Do you? Okay. How old are they?
19.
Okay. Well, this may not work as well for that, but is there something that 19-year-old would love to do?
Yeah, he has my same problem with the whole time blocking. So we've structured him, but he wants to do everything at once, like his dad.
Okay. But what's something that he would love to do with his dad? Something fun.
Nothing.
Okay, let me give you an example, and then this might help you think of something, right? So I know of an agent whose kids, matter of fact, I used to coach her. She was in Tulare County, and every Friday she would take her two littles to ice cream. But the only way that they got to go to ice cream was if mommy did this, this, and this. And if mommy didn't do that week, they didn't get to go to ice cream. Now, why did they have to pay for what mommy didn't do? That kept mommy on track because she did not want to disappoint her kids. And guess what? She told her kids, and those kids made sure mommy did what she was supposed to do. So sometimes accountability can come in very creative ways, right? Do you have grandkids that you want to promise a trip to Disneyland to? Do you have kids you want to take to Disneyland? Okay, well, in order to go to Disneyland, I have to close X number of transactions by this date and we can go. And if I don't, we can't go because we won't have the money to go. Nothing like getting a kid excited about going to Disneyland and taking it back. You're going to do everything you can to make that happen.
Plus, they're forcing you to go into the office and make phone calls.
So I'm not saying you have to use your kids, but it's one example, and some people do, and it works for them. But it's one example of a type of accountability. Just coming to group coaching and saying, hey, I'm going to talk to 50 people this week and I did it or I didn't do it, and talking through that may not be enough accountability for most people. It's probably not. Right? Tell your spouse you're going to take them out to dinner on Friday if you do this, this, and that. And if not, you have to cook for them. Right? Well, whatever it is that works, but make this a family affair. Have others hold you accountable. I know people, we used to, in group coaching a long time ago, we used to have people do their commitment for the week, and then they had to give a consequence that they had to do if they didn't finish their commitment, and they set it to the whole group. And this group loved to do this. And we had all kinds of oddball things. It would be like one person had to run a mile because they couldn't run to save their life. Um, we've had people that absolutely were hooked on diet soda that weren't allowed to have diet soda for a whole week. Just all kinds of different things that they did that they used for accountability. And trust me, they all watched each other. They were making sure nobody was posting anything with a diet soda in their hand. So do whatever you need to do. But remember, all those goals that you have start with lead generation. And so my question would be, if you don't want to do that, why do you take all the time to get your real estate license, go take a test that costs you money, spend money to join a board and an MLS and get an e-key, and whatever other money you've spent along the way to get in this business? Why'd you do that?
I think because we know there's opportunity, right? But then you have to do the things you have to do with your business lead gen to create the business that is going to be paying you at the end. And if you don't do it, then you're not going to get any results. So I think what I'm going to do based on everything we're discussing here is I'm going to do it as one of my first tasks in the morning. And if I don't do it, like I'm not going to be able to eat my lunch. Period. So
Well,
if I skip lunch a couple of days, I'll remember, oh wow, like I can't go on like this for a long time. Or I would do breakfast, but I can live without breakfast, so that one won't work. I'm gonna do the lunch.
now the only way that works is that now you've told this group, but tell your family, tell people close to you, right? Because you've got to have people that are going to hold you accountable. Now, mind you, if you guys are picking a personal accountability thing, do not make it anything that is going to harm your health or someone else's, okay? Now, lunch 1 or 2 days may not harm your health, but don't make that be an everyday, all the time thing, or it could start to harm your health, okay? So let me throw that caveat out there. Michelle?
There is a book, Atomic Habits by James Clear, that is super helpful for people that are struggling with being disciplined. So just to throw that out there.
Absolutely love that book. If you've not read that book, I highly encourage you to get it immediately and listen to it. You can listen to it, you can read it, whichever works for you. You can listen to it in 6 hours. So if you're in the car a lot, that book is phenomenal. It's not a boring listen. He actually reads it like he's talking to you. It's not one of those boring ones. That book is a game changer. And I'm not a book pusher. I'll push that book. That's one of maybe 4 books I will actually talk about highly.
You have another one that can help. I read that one twice.
Hold on, Justin, say that again.
So do you have another book that may help? Because I read that one twice and that didn't do it. I mean, it helped. I'm further along today, but I still need more because I go back to my own habits.
Well, then that's an issue of you've got to figure out what it is you want to work on first, because one of the things in that book is most of us try to take off too big a bite when we try to develop new habits. So Justin, here's what I'm going to encourage you to do. And we're all of us here are pretty regular here. Everybody come back Thursday. And Justin, if you're agreeable, let's hold Justin accountable to this next week. Okay. So this next week, 5 days over this next week, send out 10 texts every morning to your sphere of influence using that script. Start with that. Okay. It's about building memory muscle too. It's about building habits. If you're really, really struggling, guys, we can tell you to lead generate 2 and 3 hours every day until we're blue in the face. Start with something you know you can do. And let's build on that. Okay. So, Justin, are you agreeable to that? Okay. Is everyone here agreeable to hold him accountable to that? So, next Thursday, we're going to be back and check in that at least 5 days over the next week, he sent out 10 texts to his SOI each of those 5 days. Anyone else need help with that accountability? No one else brave enough to commit? Amanda?
That is.
My rabbit hole is research. And one of the things that I do for my SOI in Sherman Oaks is that I make a newsletter. It's very nerdy. It's all about history and trivia and all that. And so I always tell myself, okay, I just sent out my newsletter to 100 people. Great. Now it's time to focus on lead gen. And then, oh, what's the next month? Okay, let me start doing my research. And I just get caught up in that. So my commitment would be for until next Thursday would to be add 35 new contacts to my database. And I think I can do that. I just need a whole group of people to hold me accountable. So
Okay, you
sorry
got
for the
it.
extra responsibility, but thank you. I would appreciate the help.
Okay. And Amanda, I would say,
Yes.
I would add to that, if you don't do 35 reach outs by next Thursday, you
Yes.
can't do research until you've done that.
Oh my God.
Because here's the thing, that's the kind of thing that we put too much time into that we don't need to. That's not going to get us business.
Yes, I know.
That's going to build relationships. I'm not saying it's not important or something you shouldn't do. It's not something you should do in place of. So if you're doing that instead of reaching out to people, you should not be doing that.
Okay.
There's some true accountability. Okay, Justin, 10 texts, 5 days. Amanda, 35 contact. I'm writing this down. Okay, before we go, because it is 1 o'clock, anybody else want to be held specifically accountable to something by next Thursday?
I'll do the 10 texts.
Okay,
I'll do the 35 contacts in my command. I just wanted to, because I have been reading, not reading the book, because I discover if I download the app from the public library, it's free there and it's audible. So I can either have it in Spanish or in English.
okay.
And I have lots of books and I have been reading this.
Very good.
And it's excellent. So what I need to know is to be accountable is a lot of info that I know, but I need to go back to all that information. For example, if you say 10 contacts is email,
Nope,
phone
it's
number.
actually talking to somebody. It's either talking or if you send an email, a text, or a message, they have to respond. It has to be a two-way
Oh, okay.
conversation to be
Okay, so if 35 persons contact 35 persons with response or
yes,
whatever. Okay.
yes.
Okay, good.
Otherwise, you've
Thank
just
you.
reached out, but that's not a full contact. Okay, here's what I'm going to have you do because we're over time and I appreciate you guys. I'm okay, but I want to respect your time. Please put in the chat before you leave real quick what you want to be held accountable to. And I'm going to screenshot that. And we're going to come back next week. Those of you that have read Atomic Habits, I want you to think about your takeaways and I'm going to bring some too. And we're going to have a really good discussion next week about that. There's some takeaways that just the tiniest of things, even without reading the whole book, will greatly help you. Jeff, I saw you unmute earlier. Were you going to say something before we left?
No, well, I was just going to say, what's been really helpful for me with the time period. So I set 9 to 11 every day, and I have the same challenges everyone else does. What I'm pretty disciplined about is I won't do anything else during that 9 to 11. So if I can't motivate myself to make the call or to do whatever, I sit there till I can't stand it. And so then I finally do something, and I realize, because it's so easy to check email, or it's so easy to, I'm just going to do this real quick. Well, I've really found you can get a lot done in 2 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, especially when you do nothing else but that. So my wife knows I'm not calling her during, I'm not responding to texts, I'm not doing, and I think that at a basic level is where it certainly starts for me, is just, if nothing else, I'm sitting here, kind of a thing.
I love
Um,
that. I love that. All right, guys. Well, we went 4 minutes over and nobody left. So we know, we don't normally do that, but you guys I didn't want to stop your discussion, but we do need to call it for those of you that have other things to do. We want to respect the time. I'm going to screenshot this chat, so I will hang out for just a minute to make sure everybody has it in there. Once you put it in there, feel free to leave, and we'll continue this discussion next week. This is a good one.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Jodi. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks, everyone.